The Schmidt family's final journey. One peaceful camping trip turned into Cedar Falls' darkest nightmare, leaving a 9-year-old boy as the only survivor. The Schmidt family, Tyler, Sarah, 9-year-old Arlo, and 7-year-old Lula, embodied the essence of a loving, close-knit family. Active and kind, they were beloved members of their Cedar Falls community. Tyler and Sarah, childhood sweethearts, shared a passion for the outdoors that became the foundation of their family life. Whether hiking, canoeing, or stargazing under Iowa's vast skies, they found joy in nature and passed that love to their children. In July 2022, seeking a reprieve from the summer heat, the Schmidts planned a camping trip to Maquoketa Caves State Park, known for its rugged beauty and enchanting caves. For Arlo and Lula, it promised adventure. For Tyler and Sarah, a chance to unwind and create new family memories. On July 21st, they packed their car and arrived at the bustling park by late afternoon, setting up their tent near the entrance. Families played. Tents dotted the landscape, and the sun set over the dense foliage as the Schmidts embraced the serenity of the wilderness. By nightfall, the family settled into their tent, surrounded by the calming sounds of nature. Nearby, the Sherwin family from Nebraska camped just 200 feet away. The evening passed uneventfully, a peaceful lull before unimaginable terror. At 4 a.m., the tranquility was shattered. A man, dressed in black and armed, crept into the Schmidts' tent. Tyler, jolted awake, was the first to face the assailant's savage attack, slashed and shot as he fought to protect his family. Sarah's screams were silenced by swift, merciless blows. Lula's cries pierced the night, but the attacker showed no mercy. She, too, was brutally murdered, shot, and strangled. Amid the chaos, young Arlo managed to escape, running barefoot through the darkness, his mind unable to process the horror he had fled. As dawn broke over Maquoketa Caves State Park, it revealed a crime scene of devastating brutality that would leave an indelible mark on Cedar Falls and beyond. The Schmidts' tent stood torn and bloodied, a chilling reminder of the night that turned their peaceful family escape into a nightmare that would haunt all who heard their story. A frantic escape and a community in chaos. In the pitch-black night, 9-year-old Arlo ran barefoot through the campground, his heart racing and tears streaming down his face. Fear gripped his small body as every shadow seemed menacing, and every rustle of leaves felt like a threat. His only thought was to escape the unimaginable horror he had just fled. At a nearby campsite, Cecilia and Joe Sherwin were startled awake by faint cries, which soon turned into desperate screams piercing the still night. Alarmed, Cecilia looked out to see a terrified Arlo running toward them. His voice cracked as he sobbed, "My parents, they're hurt. They've been shot." Joe grabbed a flashlight and rushed toward the commotion, calling for help. Cecilia held Arlo's trembling hand and guided him to the park's entrance. Shaking, she dialed 911, her voice breaking as she reported, "There's been a shooting. A child says his family has been attacked. Please send help immediately." The campground was soon buzzing with confusion. Campers emerged from their tents, exchanging nervous glances and speculating about what had happened. Some guessed it was a wild animal attack, while others remained silent, gripped by fear. Park rangers, responding to the frantic call, arrived swiftly. What they found shocked even the most seasoned among them. The Schmidts' tent was torn and bloodied, its disarray telling a story of violence and chaos. Inside, the bodies of Tyler, Sarah, and Lula lay lifeless, each bearing the signs of a brutal and merciless attack. The serene campsite had transformed into a scene of unimaginable tragedy, its peace shattered in an instant. The hunt for the killer. As dawn broke over Maquoketa Caves State Park, law enforcement descended upon the serene campsite, now a harrowing crime scene. Yellow police tape surrounded the Schmidts' tent as forensic teams meticulously gathered evidence. The brutality of the murders left even seasoned investigators shaken. Tyler and Sarah had been stabbed and slashed multiple times, while Lula, just 7 years old, showed signs of strangulation and a gunshot wound. 9-year-old Arlo, the sole survivor, was taken into police custody for his safety. Despite his trauma, he provided a chilling detail. The attacker was dressed entirely in black. The deliberate violence and lack of stolen belongings pointed investigators toward a premeditated and calculated act. The search for the assailant began immediately. Park rangers and officers combed the area, concerned the killer might still be nearby. Suspicion quickly turned to 23-year-old Anthony Sherwin, a camper staying just 200 feet from the Schmidts. Sherwin was missing during the morning roll call, raising alarm. By late morning, the search ended with the discovery of Sherwin's lifeless body in a wooded area of the park. A ghost gun, untraceable due to the lack of serial numbers, lay beside him. Authorities issued their initial theory. Sherwin, armed and motivated by unknown reasons, had killed the Schmidt family before taking his own life. At first glance, the case seemed resolved, yet the more investigators delved into the details, the more inconsistencies surfaced, unraveling the narrative and leaving more questions than answers. Twists in the investigation. The discovery of Anthony Sherwin's body brought both relief and uncertainty. Found near the crime scene with a firearm beside him, it seemed to confirm his guilt. Yet critical questions persisted. What could have driven a young man with no history of violence to commit such a heinous act? And why target the Schmidt family? Complete strangers, Sherwin's parents, Cecilia and Joe, were adamant about their son's innocence. They described him as a kind and introverted young man, their camping trip peaceful until it turned into tragedy. Cecilia openly questioned the investigation, suggesting her son may have been murdered and framed. Autopsy results, however, supported the authorities' conclusions. Sherwin had died from a gunshot wound consistent with suicide, and the firearm, a homemade ghost gun, was believed to have been used in the Schmidt murders. But Cecilia pointed to inconsistencies, including the description of the attacker dressed in black, while Anthony had been wearing green shorts and a t-shirt. As media attention grew, details emerged that complicated the case. Sherwin, though academically gifted, had an obsessive interest in firearms and had built the ghost gun himself. His parents claimed this hobby was recreational, but the lack of a serial number and absence of motive left investigators and the public grasping for answers. The location of Sherwin's body, deep in the woods and far from the Schmidt's tent, only deepened the mystery. How did he evade detection for hours after the attack? Did he take his own life? Or was there a possibility of foul play? Unanswered questions sowed doubt, leaving many to wonder if the full truth was being revealed. The Iowa Department of Public Safety insisted the evidence tied Sherwin to the murders, citing forensic analysis. Yet officials provided little clarity on ballistic tests or DNA evidence, frustrating critics and fueling demands for an independent investigation. Meanwhile, Cedar Falls grappled with the tragedy's aftermath. Friends and neighbors rallied around Arlo, the 9-year-old survivor, while struggling to comprehend the senselessness of the crime. The case became a haunting narrative of horror, suspicion, and unanswered questions, one that would leave a lasting scar on everyone involved. A community grieves and doubts linger. As news of the brutal murders spread, the town of Cedar Falls was overcome with grief. The Schmidt family, beloved members of the community, had touched countless lives, and their tragic deaths sent shockwaves through the region. Vigils were held, candles lit, and flowers placed at the Cedar Falls Public Library where Sarah had worked. A sign displayed at the library read, "Gone too soon, but forever in our hearts," a tribute that captured the deep sorrow felt by the townspeople. Tyler's colleagues at the software company where he worked for nearly 2 decades remembered him as a dedicated professional and devoted father. Sarah's co-workers described her as a source of warmth and kindness, someone who brightened every room she entered. The loss of Lula, a 7-year-old with her whole life ahead of her, was especially devastating, leaving an unfillable void. As the community mourned, unease began to grow. The official account, that Anthony Sherwin, in an inexplicable act of violence, had killed the Schmidts before taking his own life, faced skepticism. Many questioned the randomness of the attack. How could such a savage crime occur without motive? The Sherwin family's vocal defense of Anthony added to the uncertainty. Cecilia Sherwin, steadfast in her belief in her son's innocence, publicly challenged the investigation. She argued that the lack of transparency and absence of conclusive forensic evidence raised serious doubts. Her claims fueled speculation, with some in the community questioning whether a second person could have been involved or if Anthony had been framed. Rumors swirled as the lack of a clear motive deepened the mystery. Investigators insisted that Sherwin acted alone, but declined to release critical details, including ballistic results or a timeline of events. This silence left many unconvinced and added to the lingering doubts. For Arlo, the 9-year-old survivor, life was irreversibly altered. Taken in by Sarah's brother, he faced a future marked by resilience amid tragedy. A GoFundMe campaign launched for him raised over $276,000, a testament to the community's determination to support him through unimaginable loss. Despite the community's efforts to heal, lingering questions cast a shadow over their grief. The park, once a place of peace and adventure, now served as a stark reminder of how quickly darkness can descend, leaving lives forever changed. The conclusion of the investigation, that 23-year-old Anthony Sherwin, with no criminal record, had murdered the Schmidt family before taking his own life, did little to ease the unease surrounding the case. While the narrative appeared straightforward, glaring gaps left many questioning its validity. The Sherwin family's claims of Anthony's innocence and the lack of definitive forensic evidence cast doubt on the investigation's findings. One key point of contention was the ghost gun found near Anthony's body. Assembled from untraceable parts, the weapon raised questions about its origin. Cecilia and Joe Sherwin admitted their son had built it as a hobby but insisted it was for self-defense during camping trips. They denied any violent intent. Adding to their skepticism, Cecilia noted discrepancies in the attacker's description: dressed in black, and Anthony's clothing that night, green shorts and a t-shirt. Investigators dismissed these claims, maintaining that the evidence pointed to Anthony as the perpetrator. The absence of motive was perhaps the most troubling aspect. Anthony had no known connection to the Schmidt family, and his behavior in the days leading up to the murders was unremarkable. Described as quiet and intelligent, he displayed no signs of aggression or instability. This left even experienced investigators questioning whether this was random violence or if deeper hidden motives existed. The discovery of Anthony's body further complicated the narrative. Found deep in the woods hours after the murders, its location raised questions about his movements. How had he evaded detection? Was his death consistent with suicide, or could another party have been involved? Law enforcement's refusal to release key details, such as ballistic test results or a clear timeline, only fueled speculation. Cedar Falls, a town known for its sense of safety and community, was left grappling with the tragedy. For many, the deaths of Tyler, Sarah, and Lula Schmidt felt personal, shaking the town to its core. While some accepted the official account, others believed vital pieces of the puzzle had been overlooked. For Arlo, the young survivor, the burden of that horrific night remains. The unanswered questions surrounding his family's murder cast a shadow over what should have been a place of peace and safety. As the town sought closure, doubts and unresolved mysteries ensured the case would haunt Cedar Falls for years to come: the forensics and the missing links. The forensic investigation into the Schmidt family murders became both crucial and controversial. Law enforcement asserted that the ghost gun found near Anthony Sherwin's body was the weapon used in the crime. However, they provided little explanation of how this conclusion was reached. Ghost guns, untraceable due to the lack of serial numbers, posed significant challenges for the investigation, leaving questions about their connection to the murders. Inside the Schmidt family's tent, forensic experts uncovered signs of a violent struggle. Blood patterns near Tyler and Sarah indicated they had fought back. Tyler's wounds suggested a brutal and personal assault, while Sarah appeared to have been swiftly silenced. Lula's injuries, a gunshot wound and signs of strangulation, were disturbingly cruel, painting a chilling picture of the violence that unfolded. Yet critical gaps in the evidence raised doubts. Ballistics tests were reportedly conducted on the ghost gun, but no public reports confirmed a match between the bullets recovered from the victims and the weapon. Additionally, no DNA evidence linked Sherwin to the Schmidt family or the tent. His fingerprints were not publicly confirmed to be on the weapon, and no physical traces or footprints connected him to the scene of the attack. Cecilia Sherwin questioned the plausibility of her son committing such a crime and escaping unnoticed. She argued that Anthony, inexperienced with violence, could not have carried out such a savage attack without leaving a clear trail. His body, discovered deep in the woods hours after the murders, only deepened her doubts. She suspected foul play, questioning how he ended up there and why the timeline of events remained murky. The absence of a clear motive compounded the mystery. Sherwin had no known connection to the Schmidt family, and there was no suicide note explaining his actions. Independent forensic experts pointed out these inconsistencies, noting that circumstantial evidence alone could not provide a definitive conclusion. DNA, fingerprints, or confession are critical, one expert remarked. Here, those elements are missing. The Sherwin family took their doubts public, requesting independent verification of the evidence. They argued that law enforcement had closed the case too quickly under public pressure. Despite some media attention, their calls for a review were dismissed, leaving their concerns unresolved. For the Cedar Falls community, these ambiguities fueled unease. Many wanted to believe justice had been served, but unanswered questions cast doubt on the investigation. Was Anthony Sherwin truly the cold-blooded killer described by authorities, or had vital clues been overlooked? The case was officially closed, but the lingering mysteries ensured the Schmidt family murders would remain an enigma. For those closest to the tragedy, the search for answers was far from over. The closure of the investigation in late 2022 offered little comfort to the grieving community of Cedar Falls. The loss of Tyler, Sarah, and Lula Schmidt left a wound that refused to heal. Their vibrant presence, once a cornerstone of the town, became a memory immortalized in tributes, vigils, and heartfelt gestures of remembrance. The Cedar Falls Public Library, where Sarah had worked, became a focal point for mourning. A corner adorned with family photos and notes from neighbors, colleagues, and strangers served as a collective expression of grief. Tyler's workplace honored him with a statement highlighting his dedication, mentorship, and kindness, which extended beyond professional boundaries. Their deaths struck a deeply personal chord with everyone who had known them. For 9-year-old Arlo, life was forever changed. Taken in by Sarah's brother, he began the difficult journey of rebuilding amid the profound absence of his parents and sister. A GoFundMe campaign raised over $276,000 to secure his future, a testament to the community's love and determination to support him in the face of unimaginable tragedy. Yet, as Cedar Falls rallied around Arlo, lingering ambiguities in the case fueled debates. The Sherwin family, convinced of Anthony's innocence, sought transparency, demanding access to sealed investigative reports and forensic evidence. Their requests were denied, deepening their frustration. Cecilia Sherwin, Anthony's mother, became a vocal advocate for answers, questioning the investigation's timeline, lack of motive, and absence of definitive evidence. Anthony wasn't perfect, she said, but he wasn't a monster. National conversations emerged around the weapon allegedly used in the crime, a ghost gun, assembled without traceable serial numbers. Advocates for stricter gun control cited the case as a warning about the dangers of unregulated firearms, while critics argued that more preventive measures were essential to avoid such tragedies. The debate added a complex layer to an already perplexing case. The site of the tragedy, Maquoketa Caves State Park, carried its own legacy. Once celebrated for its natural beauty and family-friendly appeal, it became a chilling reminder of violence's reach. Visitor numbers dropped sharply as concerns over safety grew. Although the park eventually reopened with heightened security, its serene trails and shadowy caves seemed to echo the haunting memory of the murders. For the residents of Cedar Falls, life gradually returned to a semblance of normalcy, but the shadow of the tragedy remained. To many, the case underscored the fragility of safety, a grim reminder that evil can strike in the most unexpected places. Others saw it as a call for justice, not only for the Schmidts but also for Anthony Sherwin, whose role in the crime left lingering questions. The Schmidt family's legacy continues through the community's efforts to honor their memory and support Arlo. Yet, the unanswered questions surrounding their deaths ensure their story remains a haunting chapter in Cedar Falls history, a stark reminder of how suddenly darkness can descend, leaving grief and mystery in its wake. The murders of Tyler, Sarah, and Lula Schmidt remain a haunting chapter in the memory of Cedar Falls, leaving behind a profound void in the lives they touched. Once a family united by love and a passion for adventure, Their lives were cruelly taken in an act of violence that continues to baffle investigators, with no clear motive or answers. For 9-year-old Arlo, the sole survivor, life has become a testament to resilience. Supported by a compassionate community, he is a beacon of hope amid profound loss, embodying the strength to endure and rebuild. The outpouring of support, both emotional and financial, reflects the humanity that persists even in the darkest times. However, unresolved questions cloud the official narrative. The absence of motive, the Sherwin family's challenges to the findings, and gaps in forensic evidence fuel ongoing speculation. Was this truly an unprovoked act, or do hidden truths remain? The Schmidt's story is one of devastating loss but also enduring love. Their impact resonates in the tributes and support they inspired, reminding all of the importance of cherishing family and community. Yet, their tragedy is a sobering reminder of life's fragility, urging a collective pursuit of justice and answers. As Cedar Falls moves forward, the Schmidt's legacy endures, a symbol of both love and the need for truth. Haunted by unanswered questions and chilling mysteries, subscribe now to uncover the truth with us.